You said this place was steps from the water.
We just haven't found the steps yet.
How much did we save?
Enough.
Enough to get lost?
Or you could book a stay with Hilton.
Welcome to your oceanfront room, just steps from the water.
The Hilton sale is on now. Book on Hilton.com or the Hilton app and save up to 20% to get the stay you expected. When you want savings, not surprises, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
You rise up in the morning beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Thursday. Probably listen to it on Friday. Anyway, it's Thursday evening. This is the Friggin Farm Ranch Report for Thursday, May 28th, 2026. Got a pretty good one today. A lot of stuff to cover. Coming to you out of Yerington, Nevada. Got busy yesterday. Had to help my wife out in town. She's getting ready for junior prom. Whoever. She's a junior class sponsor. Anyway, prom's tomorrow. And then we had our Little League banquet today. And I always think I'm going to get these out to you earlier. Maybe I'll have a chance now that I don't have baseball to worry about, or Little League baseball to contend with. So, had one of my players on my team got most improved player in the league, and he won himself a little dirt bike. And not really a dirt bike, but it's like one of the fat tired little 50cc kind of Briggs and Stratton type motor. Anyway, pretty cool deal. Good kid. I'm glad that he got it. But here's what we got today. Move myself around so you can see. Cattle board backed off quite a bit into the close. Cash cattle still holding the 260s mark, but futures did slide. And that $10 gap, there's a $10 gap between what the Packers paying and what the board says the whole leverage story right now. We've got a Feedyard record that needs to be talked about, said out loud. Tyson just settled a lawsuit for $47 million in a federal courthouse in Minnesota. And the White House has foreign beef rolling through the front door for the next 200 days. It does kind of seem like. And the FTC, not the DOJ, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, announced a formal investigation into fertilizer pricing today in front of farmers from 18 states. So they have subpoena power, and that's good. So let's see if anything comes out of that. Also, today's National Brisket and National Hamburger Day, same day on every May 28th. Usually that's right before Memorial Day, but Memorial Day was a little earlier this year. So either way, it's a good sign, I guess. Anyways, I don't know what that means, but there you go. National Brisket and National Hamburger Day. Before we get too far into the show, though, let me make sure that you guys know about where all you can find this stuff. Best place to go is burningdaylight.substack.com. You get the episode for free. But there's if you subscribe at a paid level, you get an in-depth article that goes along with this, with all the sources. The transcripts are all there. And plus, you get access to the apps that I'm working on, which is the Burn in Daylight Report, which is the dashboard that I use to put all of this together. Still working on it, but it's come along pretty good. And I also have a Man About a Horse, which is it's called an equine intelligence app. And it's what I use to I'm trying to put some sort of definition on the horse market, which I do believe to be impossible, but the horse markets, I think each one you can kind of put a pretty good idea of what a horse is worth, depending on what market they fit into or you're selling into. So, anyway, it's all pretty cool stuff. I've got a cowboy horse coefficient is what I call it. And it's basically a usability rating for a horse. And it's based off of the baseball statistic weighted runs created plus, WRC plus, where it sets the league average at 100. So same thing with me. I put like your good average using horse that's nothing special, nothing flashy, gets the job done. Your average using horse is set at 100 rating. And then if you dip below, it's below average. If you go higher than 100, it's above average, and it depends on how far up you can go. So I do need some help with that. So sign up, you get access to it, and then you can help me dial this stuff in. Also, there's the See a Man About a Horse option or feature, which helps you price your horse or compare prices on another horse, given a certain set of information. And yeah. So anyway, I think it's pretty cool, and it's going to be even cooler once I get some more data into it. So please do check that out and sign up over there. I'm on all the other social media platforms, Burn in Daylight, Move Your Ass, Friggin Farm Ranch Report. Search up any of those on pretty much any of the I'm not on Blue Sky. I don't have that one. So if you're into that, but I'm on Threads. Every once in a while, there's a Threads deal that pops up on my Instagram feed, and I'll jump over there and kind of browse it for a minute. But I don't use it. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Facebook as well. All of them. Go follow me. If you got any questions, you want to send in some sale barn reports or anything of the sort, shoot them over in a DM or send me an email, matt@burnin-daylight.com. And yeah, please go support the Substack. That's the best way to support the show. burnindaylite.substack.com. And now that I went on for 5 minutes with my shameless plug, let's get into the show, huh? This was today's headline. So, all right, here we go. Now let's get into the market numbers. Soybean meal's at $3.34 a ton, and I'm going to cover it up now because I need a place to go. So if this or did that part. Closing numbers as of today, Thursday, May 28th. June live cattle closed out at $249.75. That was down $1.67 on the day. August live cattle closed out at $241 even. That was down $1.60. August feeder cattle closed out at $353.02. That was down $1.60. So, but the number that frames everything else is the 5 area weekly weighted average cash price. That's a mouthful. That's what your mom said. The 5 area weighted average, 5 area weekly weighted average cash price, which is the actual money that changed hands at the negotiating table last week, came in at $260.45 at 100 weight. For the live cattle, and $410.80 or $410.09 dressed. The Livestock Marketing Information Center had fed steer prices confirmed in the low to mid 260s through the holiday week, running about $35 a hundredweight above a year ago. The June board today, $249.75. Cash last week at $260.45. So it's right about a $10 spread with cash running over the top of the board. We'll come back to that and tell you why that matters. On the grain side, July corn is at $4.55 3/4. That was up 3 3/4 cents. Short covering, and the weather is watchy right now. July soybeans at $11.94 3/4. That was up 9 3/4 cents. July Chicago hard red winter wheat, $6.24 a bushel. That was up.
So good, so good, so good.
Everything you want for summer is at Nordstrom Rack stores now, and up to 60% off. Stock up and save on the brands you love like Vince, Sam Edelman, Frame, and Free People. Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
Up 1.5 cents. And then soybean meal at $3.34 a ton, right behind my pretty face over here. Corn's been easing on a rolling basis. The real dollar relief at the bunk right now is starting to show up. On the energy side, national on-highway diesel as of this week? I think it's this week now. Yeah. Last week was at $5.60. This week is at $5.52.3 a gallon on the EIA standard. That's down from $5.59.6. West Texas crude's at $88.53 a barrel. That's down about more than 8% today. Strait of Hormuz is still in play, but the crude gave back some of it hard. There has been some negotiation talk going on, so that is kind of where I would imagine that most of that relief is coming from. Yeah, so that's the cash over the board. Okay, so it says I'm supposed to be on this one. Yes, okay. This is a pretty big story that's not being talked about a whole lot from what I can tell. That USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service put out the May Cattle on Feed report last week, and Beef Magazine's Neville Spear flagged the headline number, and I want to say it plainly because it deserves to be said. So, cattle on feed for 180 days or more. So those are the ones that need to be harvested because they're getting too fat. That hit 1.99 million head. So call it 2 million. That's the largest total in the history of the data series. It's not a recent record or a pandemic record. That is the largest ever. So the full picture on that. So going back to the cattle on feed report, we had 11.584 million head. That's 101.8% head, 8% over a year ago. April placements at 1.702 million head. That's 105.5% of a year ago. So up 5.5% on the placements. That's an up 2% on total cattle on feed. April marketings were 1.642 million head. It was only 90% of the year ago pace. So we got more going in, but less coming out. And we got almost 2 million head sitting past the 6 month on feed mark. And those cattle need to move, but they're not. So the weekly federally inspected kills are running about 528,000 head as opposed to 576,000 a year ago. So that's about 8% under last year. And the Packers are not running at capacity. They just last week locked out the Cargill plant in Fort Morgan, Colorado, due to labor negotiations. But that plant has been offline for months now, and that's about a 5,000 head a day plant. You have the Cargill plant up in Milwaukee that they just announced they're closing down, and I think this week is like the last actual kill there. They are choosing the pace of this, so the cattle, while the herd size is down, as far as the feedlot cattle, they are there. They're fat. They're ready to go. But the packer don't want to pay $260 a head unless they absolutely have to. And I guess right now they don't have to. But that's also partially why, a good reason why, not the only, but it's a pretty good chunk of the reason why beef is so high at the grocery store as well. You're keeping an artificial floor under it to try to drive down that cash cattle price. But that's the thing of it, is it's not there. Like the fat cattle are there, they're ready to go, and we're replacing them. We're putting a lot more in, and a lot of that has to do with range conditions and drought. But the packers are not coming after those after the fat cattle, and we got a bunch of them just piling up. So that is just the packer leverage deal. But that's exactly why the June board is sitting $10 under the cash price. That record 6 month pile up there, 6 month on feed pile up, tells the futures traders that the front end supply, there is front end supply that isn't clearing. So it gives the packers the argument that they don't need to chase cash the next week. That's the packer leverage. It's structural, and it's not going away anytime soon. All right, let's talk about the White House beef. That's the packer leverage part here. So just to reiterate what I said, we got record 180 day on feed pileup, kills running 8% under what they were a year ago. And that's causing the board to drop lower and running about $10 underneath the cash price. And that is at this point, it's just a structural thing. All right. We'll talk about the White House beef tariff situation going on. There's two separate actions and both moving in the same direction. So it's worth keeping them straight because the headlines have kind of blurred them. Okay, so we have the Argentina quota expansion back in February. Trump signed a proclamation expanding Argentina's beef import quota by an additional 80,000 metric tons through the calendar year 2026, which is not a ton, but it's still an expansion. And quarterly tranches are directed to lean beef trimmings, grinding trim, and not the whole muscle. Argentina's baseline quota was already 20,000 metric tons, so we quadrupled it. So I guess that was more than I thought. I don't know how much a metric ton is. I did find out that a butt load was an actual unit of measurement because a butt was used to hold like wine and stuff, if I remember right. Either way, that's a more real figure to me than a metric ton. Metric ton might as well be speaking Chinese. But regardless of that, whatever Argentina was important, we quadrupled that. And we're going, so essentially doubling their yearly import every quarter. And then on May 11th, there was a separate action. That's the White House announced the 200-day suspension of certain tariff rate quotas for beef, and that's affecting eligible trading partners broadly. So on the tariff math, under the World Trade Organization framework, beef coming in under quota pays 4.4 cents per kilogram, and beef above the quota limit faces 26.4 ad valorem. On beef valued about $7 per kilogram, that over the quota tariff is worth more than $1.80 a kilogram. So you're putting it at $7. It's going from $7 to about almost $9 per kilo. A real cost wall that slows down import surges above a certain volume. Suspending the quality limit for 200 days removes that wall, and foreign shippers can send volume above their normal annual limits at the lower rate for the duration. Beef imports are already running at record levels going into this, and Bill Bullard over at RCAF said on May 11th that this is expected to increase imports of foreign beef at a time when the U.S. cattle herd has already declined to historically low levels. Their argument, and it is a pretty logical one, is this is not exactly the wrong, or that this is exactly the wrong moment to lower the import barrier. Producers need the price premium that tells them herd rebuilding is worth the risk, and cheap imports erode that signal. And so rather than the guy trying to rebuild, you just cut the floor out from under him by flooding the market with cheap imported beef, and a lot of that is going to be exported anyways. So you're driving down the price for the domestic producer, and the domestic economy is not going to see a ton of the benefit of it. And maybe there'll be a dip in the grocery prices on beef, but I wouldn't count on it. So producers need the price premium that tells them that the herd rebuilding is worth the risk. And cheap imports erode that signal. I read that part twice because I am Ron Burgundy, but I think it was worth noting. The 200-day clock started on May 11th. It runs approximately to late November 2026 through the fall holiday run through the beef season. Now, Trump did walk that back, but there's pressure from all these lobbyists for him to go ahead and open up that or to suspend that tariff rate quota. And I guess my prediction on that would be he does some sort of scaled back version of what he initially proposed. But with this Chinese market opening back up, that's gonna really really drive the supply for the export side, and it's got to come from somewhere. So while I do think I do tend to agree with Bill Bullard on his assessment of the deal, I also trying to look at it from a real lens, and the beef's got to come from somewhere, or it's just going to keep spiking. And now we've got this opening with China, and if we can't fulfill it, well, then like they've already been living without it, so they just shut it back off again. I don't know. I don't know what all that entails. So something to keep an eye on for sure. Okay, there's my Argentina slides. Yeah. And there is that's talking about the tariff rate quotas. And now we'll get into this Tyson deal. So $47 million cash settlement. There we go. Shrink myself down. So this dropped today out of the Feedstuffs magazine and the court record that goes along with it. So Tyson Foods agreed to pay $47 million to settle a class action antitrust lawsuit in the U.S. District Court in Minnesota. The plaintiffs are commercial and institutional indirect purchasers. So that's hotels, restaurants, food service operations, and businesses that bought beef for the use in commercial food preparation. They're not retail consumers. They're not ranchers, but they're the commercial food buyer side. They allege that Tyson and related entities, Tyson and related entities conspired to limit the supply and fix prices of beef sold in the United States from at least January 1st, 2015 going forward. The class period is from January 1st, 2015 through May 6th, 2026, 11 years total, and the court has still to hold a final approval hearing. Eligible commercial purchasers can go to beefcommercialcase.com. A couple things to understand about this and what it is and what it isn't. So first, this is a civil settlement. Tyson will write a check and there'll be no admission of wrongdoing. It's just a settlement. This is not the DOJ criminal antitrust probe. That is a separate ongoing investigation. And as of today, still no movement on that, no filing. But a lot of documents have been perused, and they are looking for whistleblowers to come forward with cash rewards tied to the settlement or tied to the amount of damages in that. Okay. Well, on that Big Four concentration, just to zoom out, cover it all again. We've covered it a bunch, but the Big Four processes north of 80% of the fed cattle in the country. So if you look at the graph here, JBS up here is at 22%. Tyson also at 22%. Cargill's at 20% here in the yellow. National Beef in the brown. And then everybody else, besides those four, have 18% of the market. So the $47 million civil settlement on the same afternoon, the board closes $10 under cash with a record pile of long-fed cattle in the feedlots. Those are all connected. They're the same structural picture showing up in different rooms. RKEF said 6 days ago that there is a, quote, unprecedented focus on the concentration problem right now. And today's settlement is exhibit A of why that phrase is landing. So I'm going to move down over. Yeah. So like I said, not a ton new on this Big Four thing with the DOJ probe, but it seems like we're starting to see death by 1,000 cuts, maybe. And I'm cautiously hopeful that maybe this administration, as I said on the last episode, I will call balls and strikes on old Donnie Trump. Voted for him twice. Held my nose both times. But all that to be said is like the Democrats just insulted me with their picks on both times. So I have no regrets voting for Trump. I don't think he's done a particularly good job, but this push against the Packers is something that ranch country has been crying out for decades now. And it's something that I've been covering since in the very early days of this podcast. We've talked about it. I've talked to Bill Bullard on the show. I had the NCAA not their president, but somebody up from their public relations team. And then I had a spokeslady from U.S. Cattlemen's Association also talking about it. I've talked about this stuff up and down. And now we're seeing some real movement. But if that's one thing that the Trump administration has been sorely lacking on, it has been any sort of legal action taken toward people that truly deserve it, whether it be COVID or in any sort of the stuff where with the lawfare taken against Trump and during the Biden administration, to ranchers being just walked all over by the BLM and the Forest Service. There's plenty of action that needs to be taken, and not a ton of it. And the wheels of justice do turn slow. However, it seems like Donald Trump has occupied a lot of his time with foreign adventurism when there's a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of right here in the good old US of A. But on another note here, the FTC, so that's the Federal Trade Commission, announced a fertilizer investigation. And this is new today. So I got to be precise here because there are two separate investigations, and they are not the same thing. So back in March, the DOJ Antitrust Division opened a criminal probe into fertilizer pricing. That is still active, but that's not what I'm talking about today. Today, at 1:44 p.m., I think that was Eastern time, the Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew Ferguson stood up at an event in Texas in front of farmers from 18 states and announced that the FTC is launching a formal and major industry-wide investigation into fertilizer pricing and market concentration. So this is the FTC. It's not the DOJ. It's a second agency with subpoena power, and they did receive a standing ovation from the farmers, or he did. Now, they were any of these political events. There's probably a lot of people that paid money to be there, but there's others that are not. I know with the cattlemen that visited with Trump, Jack Payne over at Nevada Livestock Marketing went and visited with him. I don't know how much he paid, if any, to be there, but he seems like a pretty stand-up guy and has got a pretty good reputation, depending on who you talk to, I suppose. But everybody I know seems to not have too much bad to say about him, and I've talked to him on the phone, and he seems like a pretty good dude. So I want to say there's probably a good chunk of those farmers today that are probably like a Jack Payne type. But how many of those are just there to make the Trump administration look good? That's always something you got to wonder about. The companies named in this probe are Mosaic, Nutrien, CF Industries, and Koch. And that's KOCH, Koch Industries, not Coca-Cola, and not cocaina. The scope of it is the fertilizer prices have risen more than 150% since 2020. The investigation will determine whether those prices reflect market fundamentals or potential antitrust violations. And this is the first formal investigation with subpoena authority into this sector. Farmers in that room gave him a standing ovation. So on that note, let's take a look at my, so I've got the fertilizer prices on my dashboard as well. Because while I'm not a farmer, there's a lot of crops that are grown to feed the cattle that I have spent my working days taking care of. And this is why it all matters. So anhydrous ammonia is at $1,118 a ton. DAP fertilizers at $912 a ton. MAP fertilizers at $953 a ton. UAN 28's at $531 a ton, and urea is it's roughly 90 cents for a pound of nitrogen through urea. All of this is up 150% since 2020. It's the same four companies doing the thing. It's the same puts that eat into your operating budget. And this doesn't seem to be a routine regulatory moment. This maybe if there's actual action taken, and and I'm trying to look at things from the overall view, because while I've had my complaints with Trump, particularly with overseas stuff, when it comes to the domestic side, he ran Massey out of town, and I think a lot of that had to do with the Israel influence into this Iran war, as well as the Epstein list. But he also knocked out Cornyn, who's a big fan of Israel, and also probably not real thrilled to see the Epstein list released. I don't know if he's on it or not. I'm just saying he's one of those old school Republicans, establishment Republicans, as they say. And he got knocked out by Ken Paxton in his primary, and Trump's coming after John Thune, which is a welcome advancement. So again, I will call balls and strikes. I think he was wrong to go after Massey, and a lot of that has to do with my bias. But also I think Massey was a good man, and he was a friend to the independent cow producer, independent farmer. One of the few that you actually had in D.C., and now he's got just a short time before he's out of office. But John Thune is not real thrilled to just do anything in the Senate. This is the Senate Majority Leader, and he's up for re-election, and Trump is pushing hard against him. So I think that's a good thing. So on some of this domestic stuff, once we see, and we'll see how the midterms go with all the redistricting, parts of the Civil Rights or the Voting Rights Act being struck down by the Supreme Court, which led to more redistricting. So South Carolina will most likely get rid of the only Democrat district in the state, heavy majority black district. I don't know about heavy majority, but majority will get split up into between a couple of other districts, and then the Democrats have been losing some of the fights on their redistricting efforts. However, Donald Trump is historically unpopular, so I don't know how the midterms are going to go, and I'm not willing to predict it right now. But if the Democrats weren't so bad at everything, they would have a real shot at picking up a lot of seats in the midterms, and they still may. I don't know. I really don't know. But should Donald Trump maintain majorities, I would expect him to lean hard on the legislative branch. And then you have kind of a Teddy Roosevelt type situation where he used the bully pulpit to get shit done. Is that what's happening? I don't know. That may be a little bit of the MAGA talking and trust the plan, bro. But as I said, trying to look at it from a 30,000-foot view and seeing where this makes sense. And a lot of the domestic stuff is starting to kind of roll in one direction, and it seems to be in a kind of a good direction, maybe. So we'll see on all of that. But as of right now, that looks to be, again, it's the same with the Big Four Packers. Is anything going to happen? We'll see. But at least pretty big step in the right direction. Okay. Let's talk about base acre election. Opens up June 1st. So the USDA FSA, that's the Field Services Administration, I think, or Farm Services Administration, announced on May 26th. This is one of FDR's big offices that didn't exist before him, and now it just has never gone away. One of the program or the agencies that has got the American farmer solidly latched on the tit of the government. USDA FSA announced on May 26th that eligible landowners have from June 1st to August 31st to review and increase base acres on farms enrolled in ARC and PLC under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Up to 30 million new base acres can be allocated nationally. The window opens in 4 days, so call your FSA office this week and and make a plan. You don't have a very big window. They may extend it. Who knows? But as of right now, the deadline is August 31st of this year. So call your FSA office and see what the hell the deal is. Also, we have some CRP emergency grazing starting on July 1st. So if you're in a drought-designated county in Nevada, the Southern Plains, Mid-South, or the Southwest, talk to your FSA offices now about CRP emergency grazing. The window typically opens July 1st, but FSA has to formally authorize it first. That conversation happens now and not then. So in Nevada, we've got Elko, White Pine, and Lincoln counties are on active drought designations with contiguous counties included. So get on that as well. If you get a chance to graze some CRP, do it. It may not be the best feed, but it'll sure cut down on some fire risk. And maybe get something productive out of those acres instead of just the government paying them not to do anything. All right, let's talk about some wheat. Out of Nebraska, the University of Nebraska Lincoln restructured its 2026 wheat variety tour because of persistent drought and repeated freeze events that have significantly damaged Nebraska's wheat crop this year. Hard on the ground conformation layered right on top of the May WASDE production cuts. The hard red winter wheat country is hurting pretty bad. Why this all matters is the failed wheat equals emergency grazing opportunities, and summer forced sales. A summer forced sales wave is expected this year. The wheat price pressure is ongoing, and hard red winter wheat inputs to feed industry. Hard red winter wheat inputs are to feed the industry tightening. So watch for pears and bred cow sales in June and July, and we'll have to see how all that plays out. But not looking great in wheat country right now.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
Nebraska wheat failure creates emergency grazing eligibility conditions. So talk to your FSA office about CRP emergency grazing authorization for these drought hit counties. All right, let's round it out with some fun stuff here. Baseball side of things, A's they finally relinquished the lead in the West. They're half game back of Seattle, with the Yankees coming to town tonight, and the Mariners. Their offense got hot against us while their pitching did the job. Tigers lose again today. They won one, snapped the losing streak, but they're 2-8 over their last 10. They fall to the Angels 7-1 today. But if you listen to me and Jake earlier, my bet on the over did hit. The Cubs are 1-9 in their last 10. They beat Pittsburgh today, so that'd be, I guess, 2-8 over their last 10. Took the series from the Pirates, I believe. White Sox beat the Twins 6-2. Braves beat Boston. They were leading 8-2 when I know they won. Another bet that I took, and they've got the best record in the NL at the moment. Got a full slate of games tomorrow with some pretty good matchups. So look in on that. Also, the NBA finals start here pretty soon. I think there was a game tonight. Shows you how much I follow basketball. The Spurs beat the Thunder 118-91. That forces a game 7. winner take all. They will face the Knicks in the NBA Finals. Knicks sweeping the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. All right. Let's talk about on this day in history. We've got a few good ones for today. On May 28th, 1830, Andrew Jackson signed into law the Indian Removal Act. The law gave the Army authority to forcibly relocate the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole nations from their homelands across the Southeast. It is the first. It is the direct legal origin of the Trail of Tears. The land those nations were removed from is the foundation of what we now call cattle. Cattle country across to Oklahoma, the Southern Plains, and the South. That history is baked into the ground. Is baked into the ground. On May 28th, 1892, John Muir and a group of professors from UC Berkeley and Stanford sat down in San Francisco and founded the Sierra Club. Their mission was to conserve wilderness, protect wild places, and stop a proposed reduction in Yosemite's boundaries. 134 years later, the Sierra Club is the largest grassroots, in quotes, environmental organization in the country. In those 134 years, it has been one of the more consistent and well-funded opponents of grazing permits, water rights, and public lands across the western United States. If you run cattle on BLM or forest ground, and a lot of you in Nevada, Oregon, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and Idaho do, Colorado in there as well, New Mexico, say Arizona as well, and hell, even California for that matter. You have felt the downstream effects of the Sierra Club litigation and comment filings in federal courts and the Federal Register for decades. This is not an opinion. This is the public docket. Today, the BLM has proposed a revision to grazing resolutions open for public comment. The comment period closes on July 13th. The Sierra Club, 134 years old today, will be in those comments, and you should be too. The proposed rule would give ranchers more flexibility and allow permittee appeals to automatically stay BLM grazing decisions while those appeals work through the process. That matters. So go to regulations.gov, find the BLM grazing regulations docket, and put your name on it. Because they NCBA likes to say if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, and I'm no big fan of NCBA. Actually, I'm not a fan at all. But they that quote is it is apt in this situation. So make sure if this is going to affect you in your operation, make sure you let your voice be heard. July 13th is the deadline. And on May 28th, 2003, the first cloned horse, it was a filly named Promethea, was born in Italy, delivered naturally by the same mare that she was cloned from. There's been a lot of cloned horses now. Yeah, that's a weird one. I know was it Dolly the sheep they cloned as well. We bred a lot of cows to a cloned bull out of West Texas A&M. We had a bunch of his semen that we ran through cows. So they produced a lot of Charolais Angus cross calves out of that bull that they cloned. Weird stuff. I don't know how I feel about it. All right. Quick little recap, 30 seconds. We'll try to keep it at 30 seconds. The board backed off coming off of the Memorial Day weekend. June live cattle at $249.75. August at $241. And the cash cattle price is still holding at $260.45. The $10 spread between the futures and the cash is where the Packer leverage story lives, and that is not going away anytime soon. There's almost 2 million head of cattle on feed that have been there 180 days or more. That's the largest in the history of the data series, and marketings are running 10% under what they were last year. Packers are choosing to slow down the pace to try to drive the futures board and get the cash floor to break at that 260 mark. Tyson settled a beef price fixing class action suit for $47 million today in the District Court of Minnesota. That is a civil case, but the DOJ probe is still separate, and it's still open and ongoing. The White House has the foreign beef door propped open, or at least waiting on somebody to catch up so they can hold that door open for them. At least kind of what it feels like. The Argentina quota expansion from February and the 200-day tariff rate quota suspension from May 11th. Moving in the same direction. They're both moving in the same direction at the same time. That is more foreign beef. Federal Trade Commission launched a formal investigation into fertilizer pricing today with subpoena power, naming Mosaic, Nutrien, CF Industries, and Koch on top of the DOJ probe that's already running. Two different agencies looking into the same inputs with the same margins, up 150% since 2020. The base acre election window opens on June 1st. So if you've got ARC or PLC ground, August 31st is your deadline. Call your FSA office and see what the hell's up. CRP emergency grazing window opens July 1st in drought counties. So your conversation with the FSA needs to happen now. It's National Brisket Day and National Hamburger Day. Sierra Club was founded 134 years ago today. The Tigers are still on the schneid, and the A's are half game out of the division lead. Looking not to cede any more territory. But that's all I got for you. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please make sure you go like and subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. But on that note, move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Just together, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight.
Did you know if your windows are bare, indoor temperatures can go up 20 degrees? Turn the temperature down with Blinds.com and get up to 50% off custom window treatments like solar roller shades and more during the Memorial Day mega sale. Whether you want to DIY it or have a pro handle everything, we've got you. Free samples, real design experts, and zero pressure. Just help when you need it. This is your last chance to shop up to 50% off site-wide during the Memorial Day mega sale at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.